Hi everybody, welcome to This Day in History. This is the Scott Show's look at what happened on this day in history. Ta-da! Alright, so it is March 1st today. It is the day the city of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil was founded in 1565. In 1628, writs issued in February by Charles I of England mandate that every county in England, not just seaport towns, pay ship tax on this date. In 1633, Samuel de Champlain proclaims his role as commander of New France on behalf of Cardinal Richelieu. Sometimes they're a little harder to say than others, folks. Alright, in 1642, Georgiana, Massachusetts, now known as York, Maine, becomes the first incorporated city in the United States. In 1692, Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tubia are brought before local magistrates in Salem Village, Massachusetts, the beginning of which would become the Salem Witch Trials. In 1700, Sweden introduces its own Swedish calendar, an attempt to gradually merge into the Gregorian calendar, reverts to the Julian calendar on this date, and introduces the Gregorian calendar on this date in 1753. Alright, in 1713, the siege and destruction of a fort during a war in North Carolina effectively opens up the colony's interior to European colonization. In 1781, the Continental Congress adopts the Articles of Confederation. 1790, the first census is authorized. In 1796, the Dutch East India Company is nationalized by the Batavian Republic. 1805, Justice Samuel Chase is acquitted at the end of his impeachment trial by the U.S. Senate. In 1811, leaders of the Melmoch dynasty are killed by Egyptian leader Muhammad Ali. In 1850, Napoleon returns to France after his banishment on Elba. In 1815 also, Georgetown University Congressional Charter is signed into law by President James Madison. In 1836, a convention of delegates from 57 Texas communities convenes in Washington on the Barbados, Texas, to get independence from Mexico. In 1845, President John Tyler signs a bill authorizing the United States to annex the Republic of Texas. In 1852, Archibald Montgomery, the 13th Earl of Eglinton, is appointed Lord Lieutenant of Ireland. In 1867, Nebraska becomes the 37th state. Lancaster, Nebraska is renamed Lincoln and becomes the capital. In 1872, Yellowstone National Park is established as the first national park. In 1881, the first Minnesota state capitol burns down due to a fire. In 1893, Nikola Tesla gives his first public demonstration of radio in St. Louis. 1901, the Australian Army is formed. 1914, the Republic of China opens the Universal Postal Union. In 1932, Charles Lindbergh's son is kidnapped. 1936, the Hoover Dam is completed. In 1942, in World War II, Japanese forces land on Java, the main island of Dutch East Indies. In 1946, the Bank of England is nationalized. In 1947, the International Monetary Fund begins operations. 1949, the Indonesian government and army recaptures and occupies for 6 hours its capital city from the Dutch. 1953, Joseph Stalin suffers a stroke and collapses. He dies 4 days later. 1954, nuclear weapons testing. The Castle Bravo, a 15 megaton hydrogen bomb, is detonated on the Bikini Atoll in the Pacific Ocean, resulting in the worst radioactive thing ever happened, caused by the United States. It also is the main cause for SpongeBob SquarePants, as it happened at the Bikini Atoll, and then of course on the bottom is Bikini Bottom. Yeah. 1954, armed Puerto Rican nationalists attacked the United States Federal Building, injuring 5 representatives. 1956, the International Air Transport Association finalizes a draft of radiotelephony alphabet for the International Civil Aviation Organization. In 1958, Samuel Church is appointed pro-prefect of the Obligation of Faith, and thus becomes the first United States member of the Roman Curia. 1961, Kennedy establishes the Peace Corps. 1966, the Ba'ath Party takes power in Syria. 1973, Black September storms the Saudi embassy in Sudan, resulting in the assassination of 3 Western hostages. In 1990, Steve Games is raided by the Secret Service, prompting the later formation of the Electronic Frontier Foundation. 1991, uprising against Saddam Hussein begin in Iraq, leading to the death of more than 25,000 people. 1992, Bosnia and Herzegovina declares its independence from the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Yahoo was incorporated in 1995. 1998, Titanic becomes the first film to gross over $1 million worldwide. In 2003, the management of the United States Customs Service and Secret Service moved to the United States Department of Homeland Security. 2003, the International Criminal Court holds its session in The Hague. 2005, Roper versus Simmons. The execution of juveniles found guilty of murder is unconstitutional. In 2006, the 1 millionth article on Wikipedia, the Jordan Hill Railway Station. And in 2007, tornadoes break out across the southern United States, killing at least 20 people, including 8 from a high school called Enterprise. And we got some birthdays to talk about here today. Chopin was born this day in history, so was Harry Carey. Person still with us is Robert Cleary. He was an actor and author, French-American. Also born on this day in history, Pete Roselli. Harry Belafonte. Happy birthday to Harry. Robert Bork. Roger Daltrey. The amazing Alan Thicke was born on this day in history. Also Ron Howard, Tim Daly, Russell Coos, Ron Francis, Booker T, George Eates, Chris Webber, one of the Fab Five from the University of Michigan, John Paul Gazier, of course, people probably know him as Zach Morris, Jansen Ackles, born this day in history, Big E. Langston, born on this day in history, and also Kesha. And that's to remember Felix III and Leo the Eighth, both popes of the Roman Catholic Church. Andrew Breitbart and Bonnie Franklin also died on this day in history. It is Mothering Sunday in the United Kingdom. It's Heroes Day in Paraguay. It's National Cursed Soldiers Remembrance Day in Poland. National Pig Day in the United States. Remembrance Day in the Marshall Islands. St. David's Day in Wales. It is Yap Day in the Yap State, and Zero Discrimination Day should be every which way to Sunday. You guys have a great day. We'll catch you here real soon on thescottshow.com.